This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Smile, the makers of world-class software like PDF Pen for Mac, PDF Pen Pro for Mac, PDF Pen for iPhone and iPad, PDF Pen Scan Plus for iPhone and iPad, TextExpander for Mac, and TextExpander for iPhone and iPad. Learn more about all their great products at smilesoftware.com. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's been a long time since we talked to Mr. Joe Kissell of Take Control Books. We're going to fix that right now because we're going to do a different kind of Take Control show. Joe took control of the Take Control website, which I think I'm mixing my tenses, Joe. I'm not sure, but
yeah, sure.
yeah. But Joe's going to talk to us a little bit about the new design and the what's on the surface and what's in the dark underbelly of the website. Is that pretty good, Joe?
It has a dark underbelly, that's for sure.
That's okay.
And by the way, sorry.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate you being willing to talk about some of this stuff. I know it may not be for everyone, but for some of us that are involved in building websites or looking behind the curtains, this is really interesting stuff.
Yeah, as I was telling you before we started rolling officially, this is a little bit inside baseball. If you are interested in what goes into the making of a website, decisions that are made, both technical decisions and business decisions, and how kind of the sausage is made, you might find this very entertaining or possibly infuriating or both. If you couldn't care less about that and all you want to do is click on the stupid link and buy your thing, there are other podcasts you can listen to, but I would like to just say that one thing I'd like to accomplish with this is to maybe help you think about creators, whether that's people who are making apps or musicians or website developers or people who are writing books, with possibly maybe a little more compassion, because it might not always appear like what we're doing is very hard, but behind the scenes, it really, really is hard. And the positive and negative comments we get affect us. So I would like to kind of inject some humanity into what might seem to be a rather sterile and boring process.
Joe, it also strikes me that I think folks know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's no longer a matter of simply coding an HTML page, throwing it up on the web, and letting it render out. The kind of site that you have and the kind of site you're talking about, there's a lot going on in the background to make the experience better and make it easy and smooth for the visitor or for the customer. And
yes.
I'm not sure that everybody completely appreciates or understands that. It's like, well, why doesn't your website do this, or why can't we do that? Well, it's because it's not just a matter of plugging something in and turning it on.
Now, look, we're going to talk about this in a minute, and we've talked about this before. This came up a lot during my days of managing software development for a living. I was the person that people would send feature requests to. And I only half joked that I had a little filter on my email program to automatically delete any feature requests starting with the words, "Why don't you just?" Those 4 words are they're forbidden in this family because no good can come of them. And Look, I've been getting a lot of that. I've been getting a lot of that since the new site launched. People are unhappy about certain things, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know why you can't just do the thing." And I'm like, okay. First of all, taking a more, maybe cooperative and polite, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what I want and why, and understand that I can't necessarily, just working with me a little bit more would be a better approach. Okay, but that said, in the world of software development, which includes website development, what might seem obvious to you as a user is not at all the same picture behind the scenes. So the example is, well, why don't you just put a button in this dialogue that does this thing? And like, hey, I've played around with Xcode. I know it's not hard to put a button on a page. That's true. It's really easy to stick a button on a page. It's really easy. I could put a button on a page in 10 seconds, no worries at all. Now, making that button do the thing that you want it to do. Oh, well, okay. Now, first of all, we got to load all these third-party libraries that are going to have all these dependencies, and we have to do like a long list of complex SQL queries, and we have to do all this error checking and logging, and we have to like pay a license fee for somebody else's code, and then we have to test it in 99 different situations, and that's like weeks of work. So putting the button on the page, easy. Making the button do the right thing, that's hard. And you wouldn't know that if you haven't developed software. But I'm telling you, there's a lot more to it than what it looks like. So this is my plea on behalf of all people that make stuff with computers. We all want the things that we buy, read, consume to be perfect, and so do the creators. But there's more to it than meets the eye.
It's like the downhill skier that is, going down at 100 miles an hour, and the commentators say, if they could just shave off, 0.5 of a second, or or 1 second, and it's like, look, they're on a couple boards strapped to their feet going down a hill on ice at 100 miles an hour.
How hard can it be to slide down a mountain? Right?
Exactly. Unless there's a tree in your way.
Yeah, well, that happens.
Yeah. So we should say that the original, or the Take Control website, as you took it over, had that skeuomorphic look, which was fine at the time, but as it didn't necessarily translate well into today's standards, which is what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. In my industry, as in any industry, one must choose their battles. And back when the Take Control website had its previous redesign, and I don't even remember when this was. It was in the early to mid 2000s. I don't remember. It was a good stretch of time ago. At that time, the skeuomorphic interfaces were already on their way out. This was the point in time at which iOS was starting to adopt like flatter features, starting to get rid of the things that looked like objects in the real world. But even so, and even though I and various other people brought it up at the time, the powers that be were really, really in love with the wood grain background, because wood grain looks like a bookshelf in the real world, and we want to advertise that these are books and they belong on a bookshelf. And I didn't like it then, and I have never liked it since then. And in the many, many years since all that stuff has gone, long, long ago, the wood grain, among other things, stayed there. And I have never hidden my my distaste for that aesthetically. You'd be surprised at how hard it is to actually remove all that wood paneling out of it. But I did. That was the smallest of the changes I made. But yeah, we ditched that whole world. So let me just say a few words about the old site. May it rest in peace. At the time that site was originally made, Adam and Tanya did not. Did not. I don't know to what extent they weren't up to the technical task, and to what extent they just didn't want to be. But they decided to hire a guy to make the new site for them. So they hired a guy, and it was this whole long adventure. Like things happened, and I forget the whole story, but like, he had a baby and he moved, and this thing and that thing happened. Anyway, there were all these delays. Okay. And eventually that guy was replaced with a different guy. But But it was an outside person who had no relationship to the company, just a contractor that they hired. And they had their list of requirements and what they wanted the site to do and what they wanted it to look like. And they hired the guy to make it. It was very expensive, took a really, really long time. And back then, it seemed like a really good idea to use a framework called Expression Engine. Now, again, with my reminder that this is kind of inside baseball and you might not really care, website design nowadays is not like you take a page and you put some HTML tags in it and done. I mean, you can, but if you want your website to actually do anything, you need to have code in there that does stuff. You're going to keep most of your content probably in a database, and you're going to use code to look up the right things and display the right things in the right places and do the right things, and you click the buttons and all that kind of stuff. So Expression Engine was a content management system. So it was the framework of the basics of like storing and displaying content. It was mainly designed for people with blog-like content, but it was famously used. I guess I heard. I don't know from personal experience. I think that this framework was used for like Obama's first campaign. That whole website was done in Expression Engine. And I guess that was one of the things that kind of made this framework take off in popularity. Okay, so this is the years and years ago, and at that time, Expression Engine version 2 was the current thing. And sort of thing where it's a framework and it has the basics, and then you customize it and you add on to it. There are plugins and extensions that you can buy. And then when you get to the point where the plugins and extensions don't do everything you need, you write custom code to get it to do more things. And you add your own styles and graphics and things, and you customize it. So the guy made the site using this framework, and decisions were made. Design decisions that Adam and Tanya made, design decisions that this guy made, and design decisions that the guy before him made, design decisions that the people who came up with this framework made. And they weren't all good, but we had a basically functional site. And a lot of special sauce was added. So there are a lot of things that the Take Control website did that they weren't normal, they weren't usual. In fact, we haven't seen any other sites that do things, certain things, the way we do them, like the way you can check for updates on books that you already own, and the way we show your library, and just a whole bunch of little things that collectively are pretty important. And I think of that as kind of our special sauce. So this site was designed with the assumption that we're always forever going to use Expression Engine, and we're always forever going to use Accelerate as our payment processor. So when it used to be when you would buy a book from us, we don't take your credit card. We don't know what your credit card number is. We never see that. We hand that off to another company to take your credit card information, all that stuff, do the actual payment processing. Then they exact a heavy toll from that and give us what's left. And then they tell us, okay, to give them their books now. So Accelerate was the company that was doing that. Now, Accelerate shut down a month ago. We'll get to that part in a moment. But anyway, the site was not designed in such a way that you could just like pop out one payment processor and plug another one in. No. It was like everything was hardwired to Accelerate's way of doing things from the get-go. So replacing Accelerate with a different payment processor would have been like major multi-organ transplant surgery, like a super big deal. But also, in the years since that site was developed, Expression Engine went from version 2 to version 3 to version 4 to version 5. And every time it was updated, our site was still running version 2 because every time it's updated, now you got to get different plugins and updates to this thing and redo all the custom code. It's like this huge, very elaborate, expensive job to get your site to keep pace with the latest versions of this. And meanwhile, Expression Engine has kind of fallen out of favor, and there are other better, more popular, more flexible frameworks for running sites, especially those selling stuff. So, um, so those are some of the things that we faced. We knew that we had to have a site that worked with a different payment processor. We knew we wanted to get rid of the skeuomorphism, but also there was a kind of a laundry list of complaints, like finding stuff on the site was weirdly hard. And it was very difficult to see whether there was either a free or a paid update to a book that you already own. And checking out was awkward. Things like, if at any time we wanted to sell anything at a discount, like an upgrade that's cheaper, or a sale or a bundle, anything that involves a discount, that had to use a coupon. And Accelerate did not support more than one coupon in the same order. So if we're having a sale, but you also want to upgrade an old book, you got to place 2 orders. If you want to upgrade 3 books, you got to place 3 orders. If you want a bundle and something that's on sale and you want to upgrade a book, 3 separate orders. Okay, a real hassle. So we had a list of complaints from customers we wanted to solve. We knew we had to have a new payment processor, and we wanted a more modern, flexible platform. And that that brings us to starting a new website. Now I'm going to take a sip of tea.
You sure it's tea, Joe?
I can neither confirm nor deny that there are things besides tea in here. This is my Take Control mug. This is my Take Control of your steaming hot beverage mug. I have lots of mugs. I have lots of t-shirts too. By the way, I'm just going to put in a plug. This shirt does not stand for Take Control. This is, the kids should see this. A friend of mine has this site full of amazing videos for kids. Videos about how stuff works and how things are made and all kinds of cool things that she put together initially for her kids, but then she made this very elaborate and popular site for all kids everywhere. It's educational, it's entertainment, and you should check out. The Kids Should See This. A little ad for my friend's site.
Is that thekidshouldseethis.com or TKSST?
I will look it up and you will put it in the show notes.
I'll put it in the show notes. Yes. Sorry.
All right. So here's the thing. I knew in May 2017, when I bought Take Control Books from Adam and Tanya, that it needed a new website. It wasn't like this was news to me. It wasn't like it was a surprise to me. But I also knew that it was going to be a huge, huge project. And not only was it going to be a huge project, but I do have other things to do. I have to publish books. I have to pay royalties. I have to deal with a whole bunch of authors and editors. I have to deal with other companies that we work with, like O'Reilly and iBookstore, and companies that we have sponsored books with, like Devon Think and Scrivener, and pay royalties. I got to do all this stuff, and occasionally, actually, maybe write or update a book of my own. And I have, oh my goodness, so many that are in need of updates. So, even though I knew that we needed a new site, and I was kind of pecking at it a little bit in the background, it just wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to because I had so much other stuff to do. Then in January, we got the news that Accelerate was shutting down at the end of June. So I realized, okay, now this isn't just like as soon as we get around to it thing. This is we must have a new website functional by the end of June or we will go out of business thing. And it's like January, and I look at how many things there are to do on my to-do list to make the new site, and how many other things are on my to-do list in other areas. And I'm like, there's just no way. And with each passing month or week or day, that feeling of, holy cow, it's just impossible, got stronger and worse. And I was, I spent weeks and weeks working like 12 to 18-hour days on this. And when it got down to a couple days before the end of June, I'm like, we are so not ready. We are so not ready. But also, we have to do it. We have to flip the switch now, or we will sell no more books, and that's the end. So so we turned on the new site long before it was ready. We had the basic functionality to, like, be able to buy books, so there was that. But a super long to-do list, and to that extent we succeeded. So yeah. As of whatever it was, June 28th or something, you could actually go onto the new site and buy a book and get that book, and we would get your money. So yay for that much. But it wasn't like we were ready to roll out the red carpet and say, hey, everybody, come visit our great new site, because really the site was not great. And there was kind of a lot that was embarrassing about it. And we would get people saying, well, why didn't you hire more people for your team? Why didn't you hire? Come on, it's me. I did the whole thing. We didn't hire anybody because I have no budget to hire anybody. We don't have a team. We don't have a staff. We don't have, highly skilled contractors doing the coding. We have me. So that wasn't my preference, but that was what the circumstances demanded, because I have no budget to hire anybody else. So I did it. And I'm okay as a programmer. I can program my way out of the proverbial paper bag, but beyond that, it doesn't scare me. It's fine, but it's also not something that I do all day, every day. So it's going to take me more time to do things than it would take somebody else. So so we launched, and I will first say some of the good stuff. One of the good things is we're now on a new payment processor. So instead of Accelerate, which is now defunct, we are using FastSpring. FastSpring is way better. I've used them before. We're using them now. They are much more modern. They are more responsive. They do some things that we could never do with Accelerate, such as you can pay with Apple Pay now. Yay! Here we are. Like, we're an Apple-centric publisher. We have all these books about iOS and iPads and Macs and all this Apple stuff, and you could never pay with Apple Pay before, but now you can. So yay for that. And that whole thing that I said about using multiple coupons at once, that's all over with. You can upgrade 10 different books with 10 different coupons in the same order. No problem at all. We can have sales that don't in any way conflict with coupons and other discounts, and all. It's all good, We also are trying to be more respectful of privacy. So, like, if you use Apple Pay, then we don't collect any information about you besides your name and email address, because, like, we gotta deliver your books to you, right? But we don't ask for your mailing address. Even if you pay with a credit card, we don't ask for your mailing address anymore, because we don't need it. We're not shipping you anything. We have ebooks. So we're trying to collect less information and make the site easier to use. So searching and finding stuff is way easier now. And we instead of, like, it used to be you go to the site and what you see, takecontrolbooks.com was just a grid of books, and that's it. The site was the catalog. And you're like, well, okay, but, like, we're a publisher and we want to have, like, a blog that people can find, and we want to have news about books. We want to be able to highlight an author or a sale or a something. We want to tell you about other things that we're doing besides just these books. And so we wanted to make our site look more like a real publisher site. So we have, like, a front page now besides the catalog page, and a blog that you can find. We also have reviews, although as we're recording this, no one has found them yet. They're right there, but no one has left a review yet. So you could be the first. Write a review of a Take Control book. It's possible now. It wasn't possible before. And we also have a way way, way better email delivery systems. So it used to be like, okay, I'm getting ready to send my announcement out to whatever it is, 30,000 people about some new book. And I'd click the button and I say, okay, well, it's going to churn for the next 5 or 6 hours, sending out all these messages one at a time. No more. Now we're using a service called Spark Post, and I can click a button, and within 30 seconds, tens of thousands of messages have been delivered. So, and they're much less likely they're much, let's just say they're much more likely to make it to your inbox now. So in all those ways, the new site is, even with its deficiencies, it's way better. Now I'm going to mop my brow, turn on my fan, and take another sip of tea. So I'll let you speak for a minute.
Smile and TextExpander are sponsoring this edition of MacVoices. Do you want to do something quick and easy to improve your productivity? Want something that is bulletproof that will improve the quality of your work? Are you looking for a utility that can integrate with just about any program on your Mac to make it better? If so, you're looking for TextExpander from Smile. TextExpander works pretty much everywhere on the Mac, inside just about any program. Desktop publishing, email, web publishing, browsers, task management applications, chat applications, the list goes on and on. Because all of those require text entry, and TextExpander helps you enter text quickly and accurately. Have a word, phrase, paragraph, or page that you need inserted regularly? TextExpander does it with a few keystrokes. Have a word that you misspell frequently? TextExpander can help you fix that so that it never happens again. Want to standardize wording to customer inquiries across your entire team? TextExpander is the answer. With almost no learning curve and massive payback on the time invested, you should be using TextExpander. Visit textexpander.com right now, download a free trial, and find out what so many of the productivity experts already know. TextExpander from Smile, the makers of world-class software. Thanks to Smile for being the longest-running sponsor of MacVoices. And while you do that, there are a number of things that strike me, Joe. First of all, I know that's some of what kept you up at night. It keeps me up at night because you and I have had this discussion. Adam and I have had this discussion. There was a time that you could be not an expert, but maybe very, very, very proficient in lots of different things, and they've all become so specialized now. And what you ran into is exactly what worries me. Because when places go out of business, they seldom spend the time or the effort to assist you in getting your material off of that website or out of that website. Yeah. And so you are left to, hopefully they've implemented some standards, but it can be a problem. And then you try to, take that and shoehorn it into a new service or a new operation, and things break. And things, they may not offer the same set of features. And sometimes those features sometimes you feel like they are key to what you've been delivering. And it's a very scary proposition. There's no question about it.
Boy, the stories I could tell. And I know that we don't want to spend forever on this, but I'll just say, we had something like 600,000 orders from the old system, and about 160,000 customers from the old system that had to be moved into the new system. And to reiterate, it's not like we upgraded the old system. There is not one line of code in common. We completely erased that old server. It does not exist anymore. We started a brand new one from absolute scratch, and everything is new. That doesn't mean I wrote all the code from scratch, mind you. We are using some software that I have heavily customized, so the way the old system represented all this data about orders and products and customers, and the way the new system represents that data are very, very different. So the export and import process was insane. It was insane. And when I finally figured out, okay, this is how we do it, start importing, the first several thousand records were going along just fine at a good clip, and then started slowing down, and it would get it a record a second. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. So we have to have this new site online in a week. And if a record a second and we have how many hundreds of thousands of records to transfer, that's not going to work at all. So we eventually solved the problem. But I'm just saying that there was a lot of pain involved in the export and import process. And although we did our very best, there were a few imperfections. Some things did not transfer precisely correctly and had to be later tweaked after the fact. There might still be some mistakes in there. But like the main thing I wanted to say, and you know, I could talk about all the technology. I would be happy to talk all of it, but I know that I've been rather long-winded. The main thing I want to say is this. We put the new website up, and I had like blog posts saying, look, guys, here's what isn't done yet, and I'm sorry. Here are bugs that I know about. I have a longer list of my own, but here are some of the highlights. Here are some of the features that aren't done yet. I have a longer list of my own. Here are some of the highlights. I mentioned these blog posts in emails that I send out. I mentioned them like on our contact page. Before you fill out this form, make sure you've read this so you know, so you don't complain about something that we already know about. Nobody reads those. And it's really frustrating for me because I can't tell you how many complaints I've gotten about, well, why can't you do this thing that I want to do? I'm like, did you read my status update that I linked to in 19 different places? I know you want that. I know you do. I understand that. Honest to God, I understand you want that thing. I want it too. It's on my list. The list is public. You can see it on my list. But that thing isn't like spend 10 seconds putting a button on a page. It might seem that way to you, but really it's like half a day's work. And there are 117 other things on my personal to-do list. Some of those are more urgent than that thing. So I'll get to it when I can. So I've been frustrated that a lot of people have been complaining about things that don't work right for them, or like, you know, the complaints are sort of like a third are legitimate bug reports, which I appreciate. And if it's a bug, I absolutely want to fix it as fast as I can. And a third are, it wasn't working the way I expected, but I didn't actually read your documentation or your FAQ page or look, so user error. And then, yeah, and then a third is people asking for stuff that we're already planning to do. We just haven't gotten there yet. So, look, I know that you just want to buy your book or you just want to download your old books or whatever. I understand that. I want you to understand that I am not a gigantic corporation. I'm a guy in his home office with a to-do list that has 117 things on it, plus books to edit and write and publish and people to pay. And like, I am one person. I am doing the very best I can. I want you to know, customers, that if a thing isn't perfect, it's not because I wasn't working hard enough, and it's not because I don't care. I really do care. I want the site to be terrific for everybody, and eventually it will be. Right now it's not, and I know that it's not, but I had to do, I had an imperfect situation to work with. And I've done the best that I can, and I will keep working on it.
So I want to put in a plug for Joe here, because communication is 3/4 of the battle, but it has to go both ways. Joe has to put it out there. You have to read it. I know I see this not just with Take Control. I see this with so many places. If they would just make the information available, it would cut down on so many problems. But the user has to read it. You know, you have to pay just a little bit of attention and maybe do that much research before you send in a why don't you just? Because I think it's the word just that sets all of us on edge. It's like, why don't I just get Tim Cook on the show? Sure, that's no problem. Tim, do,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
So
absolutely. And can I also say that I've gotten emails that the entire text of which is I can't log in, or the entire text of which is Apple Pay doesn't work. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, okay, so I'll give you an example. A guy was having trouble with Apple Pay, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Apple Pay has been working for lots of people. I wonder why it's not working for you. He was like, there's something wrong with your site. You're like, well, okay, there could be something wrong with your site. Let's look into it. Let's do some testing. Let me first get some facts from you so that I can try to replicate this problem myself. Like, okay, which operating system are you using? Like, I got a Mac on an iOS device, which browser, give me some basic facts. And the guy writes back rather sheepishly saying, oh, never mind. I usually use my iPad, but due to blah, blah, blah reasons, I was trying to make this transaction on my Samsung phone. Oh, well, it's not an Apple device. It doesn't support Apple Pay. That's an explanation. Oh, okay, not all problems are like that. Some problems are legitimately our thing or FastSpring's thing or whatever. But all I want to say is saying something like your site sucks, which we've gotten, or I can't log in, which we've gotten, doesn't help me solve the problem. Help me help you. I want to help you. I want you to have a great experience because I want you to keep coming back and buying more books from us. I want you to have a great experience. But if you're going to tell me that something isn't working, give me enough facts that I can figure out why. Like, I got to be able to try that thing that you're trying and get the same result. And I go, oh, okay, now I can look in logs, I can do debugging, I can figure out what led to this chain of events. But if you're just saying this thing doesn't work, and I know this thing is working for me and it's working for lots of other people, and I don't have any more detail, I'm just stuck. I'm stuck. I can only guess. So not just for me, but please, whenever you are reporting a bug or a problem to anyone, any software developer, any website, give them as much detail as you can. Tell them, I'm using this device, using this operating system, this browser. I went to this link and I clicked this. And what I saw on my screen was this. Take a screenshot or write down the exact message that you saw. That helps so much. It is amazingly helpful in figuring out what the problem is. And software developers hate bugs. Hate bugs. They want to fix bugs. They really don't like having bugs. But what they hate even worse is not being able to find bugs. So help us help you.
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, as we record this today, I was dealing with a problem with one of my websites that just for no apparent reason stopped working. And, at some point, you almost don't even know where to start other than just, to write somebody and say, hey, this is the message I'm getting. And
Right.
like you say, this is the browser and that's about it. But, the more information you can give, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating for you because your site's down. It's frustrating for the user because they want the site back. It's frustrating for the tech support people that are trying to help you get the site back because they don't want your site down. Because first of all, you're an unhappy customer, and second, they have other things to do too. They would rather not be dealing with your problem, but you have a problem, and that's part of their job. So yeah. So Joe, where do we stand now as far as the goods and the bads for your end users?
Yeah. So I have solved the worst and most urgent bugs. I spend half of every day responding to customer feedback. So I had this problem, this isn't working, I'm confused about this, and I deal with those things as best I can, time permitting. So I believe that I have now dealt with the most common and the most serious issues. Right now, the thing this seems weird to me, but the thing that people are most unhappy about is their library page. The library page is a page on our site that lists all the books that you own. And so you can download them again. You bought a book 5 years ago. You bought a book 16 years ago. Hey, come to this page, you can download it again. You want a different format, download a different format. It's all good. So we're really proud of the existence of our library page. I've made the library page way better than the old one was, in the sense that it's easier to it's easier to see whether there is a newer version of your book, and if that newer version happens to be one that you have to pay for, it's much easier to buy that newer version. What people cannot yet do as we record this, and it might not be true by the time you listen to this, what people can't yet do is sort that page in different ways. People say, well, I want to sort it by the date I bought something. You can't do that yet. It's alphabetical. And I understand if you have 100 books, thank you, by the way, for buying 100 books from us. That's awesome. We love you. I understand if you bought 100 books that it's more useful to you to be able to sort things by the date you acquired it rather than alphabetically. I understand that. It's on my list. Check the list. It's on the list. We're gonna put sorting in there. Harder than it looks. Not just a button. We'll do it. People want to be able to hide older purchases. So I don't need to ever see that I bought Take Control of Upgrading to Panther in 2003. Yeah, I know I bought it, but I don't need to show it to me on that page anymore because I'm never going to download it again. That request has been logged. It's on the list. We'll get to it. I understand. You want that? Okay, like we're gonna make that page better. We're gonna put more information on it. Gonna make it sortable in different ways. We'll give you the ability to hide things. Just please understand, not as easy as it sounds. And I do have other things I have to do. So I hear you. We'll do it. Just bear with us. There are so many more things that have to be done with improving our email system, with dealing with bundles. Bundles are a little bit weak right now, so we got to put some work into that. Our check for updates page works, but it doesn't provide all the information that I'd like to provide, so I got to work on that. There's kind of a list, but the important thing is most people can successfully buy books without any hassles, and it's actually and I should say, by the way, the site is a little slower than I would like it to be. We've already done quite a bit of work on performance, but some pages still load more slowly than I'm comfortable with. So we're absolutely gonna pay attention to that and make that better. But we have the basics. Okay, so you can buy and download books. You can see what books you bought previously and download those. You can click the little check for updates thing in your existing books and go to the right page, and it'll tell you if there's an update. Okay. Still haven't dealt with like class copies for educators. We're working on that. Still haven't dealt like the sign up page for Apple employees. Apple employees love our books. We have many thousands of Apple employees that are part of a special program to get access to our books. We don't have an automated sign-up page for them yet. We will. We're going to make sure that we have restored almost all the functionality from the old site that hasn't yet reappeared, and add lots and lots of new features too. But also, like, we're working on new books. Hey, Catalina's coming out, iOS 13, iPadOS 13, the new WatchOS and tvOS. We got people writing books. Josh is working on a book. Shelley's working on a book. I'm working on a couple of books. Jeff Carlson's working on books. Michael Cohen's working on, we got lots of people working on a lot of books. And we're going to start seeing those new books about the new operating systems probably in about a month-ish, like late August, I think. And we have like an insane list, like more, I don't even know how many, like well over a dozen books that need to be updated in the next few months to deal with the new operating systems, plus brand new books that you've never heard of before that we're working on. So I'm trying to write books. I'm trying to manage all these authors and editors writing their books, trying to get some brand new and exciting features ready for the site that I had hoped would be ready when we launched, and they aren't ready yet, so I can't really talk about them yet. but we got stuff for you ahead. I beg your indulgence, and we'll get to it.
So, folks, takecontrolbooks.com. Go check out the new website. If you get a chance, say thank you to Joe for the new website, because he really does deserve it, because there's a lot going on, obviously, behind the scenes that you don't know. But this is still one of my favorite resources for learning a lot of different kinds of programs, a lot of the Apple programs, but a lot of third-party programs. Some terrific authors, now with a terrific new website. And Joe, thank you. First of all, thank you for Take Control Books. Thank you for the new website. And thank you for coming and sharing and spending a little time on the couch, apparently.
Sure. It was cathartic. Thank you.
No, that's good. That's good.
And can I just mention too, if you happen to be listening to this before the end of July 2019, we have a 50% off kind of housewarming sale on half a dozen of our newest titles. So go buy some cheap books.
Yeah, definitely. So, Joe, we'll be back here. I'm looking forward to talking to all the people you just talked about that are writing books. We'll have them here on MacVoices to let people get a little more in depth with those topics before they buy the book, or maybe after they buy the book. And definitely get you back with some of the books that you're working on when you're getting, no pressure, just whenever you get to it. We'd love to have you back.
I will be happy to come back, and I look forward to having actual content to share with you. Like, I've been working on the container, right? I've been working on the container, but the content is pretty important too. So we'll get to that.
Yeah, but this was content too. Again, this show may not have been for everybody, but for those of us that have worked it all behind the scenes, it's interesting. There's a bit of, like you say, cathartic. There's a bit of connection here that I completely understand, and I'm sure a lot of people out there feel the same way. We'll talk to you soon.
Certainly will.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Again, takecontrolbooks.com. Go check it out. Check out the new website, all the features that are there now and the ones that are coming soon. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.